Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2026 Volvo XC40 B5 Ultra. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. But first, I'd like to tell you about something that drives me cuckoo bananas, and it involves Volvo and Mazda. I don't know if they had a meeting about this before they launched their current product lineup, but we're about to have a meeting right now. Really quickly, for the audience that may not know, Mazda's naming scheme is CX and then an odd number. So CX30, CX50, CX70. And Volvo's lineup naming scheme is XC and then an even number, XC40, XC60. That is already complicated within and of itself. But what makes it even more complicated is both of them have 90s. There's an XC90 at Volvo and a CX90 at Mazda. That is one of the most confusing, baffling, confounding naming things that I have ever seen. And as an automotive journalist, I get switched up and backwards. My hope is that I will continually say XC40, XC40, but CX40 might slip in here. And it seems like nobody's talking about this. I should probably talk about this car. That's why you clicked on this video, but I needed to tell somebody. This is so confusing. Now, all joking aside, I have really enjoyed my time with the XC40 this week. I think it is fantastic. Starting out up front here, the corporate design language on Volvos really hasn't changed much over the last decade. 2016 looks about the same as a 2024 or 2025, but personally, I don't really think that's a bad thing, especially here on the XC40. This is one of the sleekest small SUVs I've ever seen. I really like the wheels on this one too. I think the wheels add a certain level of panache that not a lot of other SUVs in this class have. And I don't mind that it hasn't changed much. I still think for 2026, this is a very, very sharp looking SUV. And as we move inside, the technology is very up to date and definitely equivalent with a lot of the competitors. Here you'll get the classic LED Thor's hammer daytime running lights. They also double as your turn signals. As you can see, you'll have full LED headlights. You'll also get LED fog lights a little further down on the front, parking sensors, and then in the Volvo badge, there is a camera for the 360-degree camera system that this is equipped with. Moving underneath the hood, this is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder, making 247 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to a 48-volt mild hybrid system in this XC40. It's very basic. It adds some nice things like regenerative braking, but there isn't a ton to write home about. You might get slightly better fuel economy, but this isn't a plug-in hybrid, and it doesn't have the ability to drive on fully electric power, though it is still nice that that's included. It also has an 8-speed automatic transmission. Hopping over to that fuel economy, the EPA rates this with premium gasoline at 23 city and 30 highway for a combined fuel economy rating of 26 miles per gallon. And in my testing this week, I averaged just a hair over 26 miles per gallon. So this is pretty accurate. Moving to the profile of the XC40, I was talking with a friend about this car earlier in the week, and he looked around and he said, you know, this is sort of like Volvo's luxury version of a RAV4. And at least size-wise, I think that's a pretty good comparison. It's maybe a tiny bit smaller than a RAV4, but if you're wondering how big it is, that's pretty apt. Though, of course, this is packed with some amazing luxury features. We'll start here, though, with the wheels and tires, as I often do. I have exclaimed how much I love these wheels, and I will exclaim it further. They're awesome. You'll get 245/40R tires around these 21-inch wheels. Now, of course, there are a lot of wheel options for the XC40, but I think those are perfect. I don't think they get better than that. And then moving up to the mirror cap, there are a lot of features packed in here. This is gloss black, and I think against the denim blue exterior color on this particular one, it works really, really well. Now, there's a lot to get through here with the mirrors. For starters, if I unlock the vehicle, that's going to power fold them out. They are power folding. You'll have turn signal indicators on here, a camera for the 360-degree camera system. They are, of course, power adjusting. It would be weird if they were only manually adjusting, but power folding. And then you also get blind spot monitoring. That's what this little boomerang line is right here. It's very impressive. You get a lot of features packed in. And then all 4 doors have keyless entry. So normally nowadays you get keyless entry at least on the driver's side, but all 4 of them have that little indentation for the keyless entry, which is very impressive. And then moving to the rear of the car, you get the awesome taillights that you get on the XC60, very similar to those. I personally used to have an XC60. It was a 2011, and the taillights were my favorite part of that car. They were so cool, and they are so cool here too. You'll have an XC40 badge. It's a lot easier to not say CX40 when I'm looking right at the badge. And then Volvo is spelled out in a nice script across the rear. They've been doing that for a while. Then you'll get your B5 badge, and then parking sensors down here. No exhaust that you can see. There is a little exhaust down there. Obviously it does have that, but this isn't necessarily a performance car. It's not going for that like visible beefy look. It gets the job done, and it does it well. Now, moving inside to the rear, there's a couple of different ways to get in. This has become more common over the years, but you can swipe your foot and that will open up the rear lift gate. That's probably the schnazziest way to be able to do it. You can also do it from the inside. There is a button. There is also a button on the key fob right here. Pretty simple Volvo key fob, very firmly built. You'll have panic, lock, unlock, and then the ability to open it up. You know, come to think of it, Mazda also puts their buttons on the side. What's going on here? I think I'm unraveling a wider conspiracy that Volvo and Mazda are secretly the same company, but Volvo's just a bit snazzier. No, I digress. I'm kidding. There's a couple of manufacturers that do that now. Moving inside here, though, you do get a very decent amount of storage space. It's a small SUV, and there's quite a lot here. You'll have a 12-volt right there and some little lights for the interior, and then if you want to lift this up, they give you this nice grab handle. You can lift that and move it back. That gives you some more storage space, a little bit more options there. And then lifting this up, there is a donut, which is really nice to have an actual tire and not just a fix-a-flat kit. If you want to lift this back, you can close that in right there. Before we fully move out of the interior, I forgot to mention there is buttons here to lower the lift gate, and you can also lock the vehicle as it lowers the lift gate. That's convenient. You grabbed your groceries and you want to walk away. And then up here is actually your backup camera. So as we close, you'll see it's off to the side here. We'll come down with it. It's very tactically hidden in there. So that's a pretty neat addition as well. All right, let's take a look at the interior. Moving to the interior of the XC40, it is so nice. This is one of the nicest small SUV interiors I've ever been in. It feels so comfortable. These seats are very nicely bolstered, and in addition to the lumbar support and the power adjusting, there is also a manual pull grab, and you can extend this if you'd like for more leg room and more leg support. That is automatic on some higher end Volvo models, but it's really nice that they've included that here no matter what. I really appreciate that. The door panel is also very, very nicely equipped too. This is super soft touch, and then this is sort of like a carpeted material right here. That is a very cool and unique touch as well. I know Volvo has tried to use a lot of recycled products for their interior. I know that's generally more on their fully electric vehicles, but I'm sure that this is somehow recycled in some way as well. Now, you'll have your window controls here, all for power, one touch down, one touch up, which is great. You'll also have your mirror controls, and then of course you can fold the mirror as well from here, lock and unlock, and the child lockout for the rear doors. You'll have your seat controls right here if you want the memory settings. Then you'll have a very nice Harman & Kardon audio system. You can see that speaker right there in the door. And then you also get a big one on the dash. They're all over the place. They're hidden around. And I love this climate vent. This climate vent is very tactile, has a very nice premium feel, and it clicks very nice as well. It just looks very upscale. You have the button here to open up the rear lift gate, but other than that, pretty simplistic over here. Normally there's like 100 buttons here on other cars, but there's only one on the Volvo. Simplicity is the name of the game here. You will have a very comfortable steering wheel that is very nice to hold. It's heated, and the seats are heated as well. I'll show you guys a little bit more about that when we move to the infotainment screen, because that's how you have to access them. You'll have your radar guided cruise control settings right here, and then your volume and channel changing. And then the gauge cluster screen is Google Maps. That's awesome. That's so cool. You can talk to Google. It has a Google Assistant built in, so you can ask to put an address in, and it will route you right there on your gauge cluster, which is super convenient. It's literally right in front of you. Very, very nice. No heads-up display on this car, but doesn't really need it when the entire gauge cluster is Google Maps. But other than that, very, very simplistic layout. You can hit this button right here to turn off Google Maps. If you just want a more basic view, you can turn it back on. And then this button right here will pull up your trip, your average fuel economy, and the odometer. So very, very simplistic. This is one of the most simplistic, fully digital gauge cluster screens I've ever seen. Not a ton of customization. There might be one or two more things that you can mess with here, but not a lot. It pretty much succinctly lays out everything. Now moving over here to your infotainment screen, this is very nicely appointed. I love how it's flanked by the equally as tactile feeling climate vents. It just looks very premium. It looks like it should be here. It doesn't feel like an aftermarket thought. One thing I do not like is that the climate controls are all in this screen. A lot of manufacturers do that. Every time I have a press loan that has all of the climate controls on the screen, I talk about how I wish that they were down here. Even if it didn't look as smooth and simplistic, I just love physical climate controls. Having to go in here and adjust it does take my eyes off the road, and I feel like that's more of a safety hazard. Yes, could I potentially get used to it and sort of know where to touch on the screen to get there? Maybe, but I would rather just have one physical button I can go to. Your defrost buttons are here, so there is technically two physical climate buttons, and they do try to keep the general climate controls down here for the most part, but I just don't love that feature. Now, if you want to turn your heated seats or your heated steering wheel on, you can do that from here, and you can select a level. The heated steering wheel on level 3 gets really hot, which is nice for the winter, but not super nice right now. Though I suppose this video is probably going to come out a little bit later in the year, so it's perfect for whenever this video comes out. But yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of those digital climate controls. But there is super cool things in here, like the air quality. It basically lets you know if the air conditioning in here is good. Is there pollutant in here? No, it's pretty good. I don't know what all of this stuff means, but it says good, so I'm going to assume we're healthy here. And then, as I mentioned, you have Google Assistant built in. There is wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Unfortunately, no wireless CarPlay or Android Auto. That's probably a safety feature. I imagine Volvo could do that if they wanted, but they don't. I love that SiriusXM is built in here. I exclusively use SiriusXM when I'm in these press cars. I don't really feel the desire to pay for it otherwise, but I love when I have it because there's 3 stations, right? These are the 3 stations. Everybody knows this. You're on 55 chill most of the time, and then occasionally you jump over to 90s on 9, and it's always Wonderwall or Alanis Morissette. But, and you know what, sometimes you want to hear Wonderwall, right? Sometimes you want to hear it. And then you go to 80s on 8 and Fleetwood Mac is playing and you're happy, right? These are the ultimate 3 Sirius XM stations. Fight me in the comments. I'm sure you listen to Howard Stern. I'm sure you listen to some sports radio. But when it comes to music, the 3 Sirius XM stations that matter are 90s on 9, 80s on 8, and chill. And I will go down fighting with that. I will go down swinging. But pulling this up, you can see some of the other stuff. You can obviously have Bluetooth, and Android Auto is also there. And then you can get more apps in the Google Store if you sign in. So there's stuff like Waze you can probably install, and other different apps that you'd like. It's a pretty intuitive screen, and it does work very fast, no lag, though I'd be concerned in the future, 10 years down the line, does this lag? 10-year-old Volvos, granted, that technology was brand new when it was first introduced in like 2016 or so. Those screens are generally laggy, and that really controls a lot of the car, and you don't want lag when you're trying to pull up the climate controls. And if the screen breaks, then you have to get a new screen because that controls your climate controls. So that was my soapbox. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. There are great things about this screen, but also some things that I feel like hold it back a little bit. Now, putting the car into reverse, I put my foot on the brake. This is our shifter right here. I'm going to push forward to be in reverse, and you can see there is a full 360-degree top-down camera that pops up alongside your backup camera. And if I put it back into drive, it gives me a quick view of the top-down one as a full screen. That is super useful. I really love the functionality. You can do the sides, you can do just the top-down view if you want, or you can do the front. Even if you're backing up, you can have the front. I don't know why you'd necessarily need that, but Volvo gives you the option there for anything you want. And then fully moving down here, you have your hazards, the aforementioned defrosting, channel changing, pause, and then you do get a physical volume slider. And then this is just like some blank switches right here that fit right in. And then down here you'll have a 12-volt, 2 USB-Cs, and a wireless charger. Though if you're going to use the CarPlay, you're probably going to plug in anyway. Then you'll have your electronic parking brake and your auto hold. So if you come to a stoplight and you want to take your foot off the brake, but you want to leave it in drive, auto hold will do that. And then here is your center armrest. Very comfortable. You can open it up. You can see I have put my Apple charging cord in here. And one thing that's super unique to this car, I don't know if I've ever seen it on any other car that I've ever reviewed, is there's a little trash can. Right here, there's a little storage bin. You can drop some stuff in there, maybe some tissues, whatever trash you want, and you can take it out. This top part pops off, and you can just lift it out and, empty the trash. You could put a little bag in there. I think that is fantastic. I absolutely love that feature. And I think it's so cool that it's incorporated in here. A little trash can. What a neat idea, and incredibly forward thinking. Continuing on over here, the dash is just as nicely appointed. You have this wood texture in here. You can actually feel the grains of wood. Not 100% sure if that's real, but it feels pretty authentic. And then you have a decently sized glove box right there. And then moving up here, you have a seamless mirror that looks very cool. It does not have a camera on the back or anything, just auto dimming, which is still very nice. And then you will have these soft touch LEDs that come on. They're so premium feeling as you just touch them right there. And then the button to open up the panoramic moonroof is also a fun kind of luxury feature. It's a touch pad. So if I just want to pop it open, I tap it. That pops it up. Tap it again. Oh, and that's going to open it up there. I didn't know that did that. Fun fact, we're all learning today. If I want to close it, I can swipe right there. That should be how it opens, I believe. But I guess 2 taps also opens it up. And then swiping it again. See, that opens it up that way. I think that's so cool. And then if I want to close this, and then I can also swipe again, and that's going to close the shade as well. That's really neat that they give you the option to do that. And it's just like sort of a fun little gimmick. Just a nice little gimmick. Moving this down here, pretty standard mirror, nothing crazy. But that pretty much wraps up the front here. Very simplistically laid out, but very premium feeling. Let's take a look at the back seats. Moving to the second row, even though this is a smaller SUV, it doesn't necessarily feel like you're compromising a lot back here. I'm 5'9", and I still have 2 or 3 inches of legroom and about 2 inches or so of headroom. If I lean forward a little bit and I'm under where the sunroof is, I probably have closer to 4 or 5 inches, but it doesn't feel cramped back here. I definitely think 4 adults could fit in here very comfortably, and a kiddo in the middle, or an adult that's sitting less comfortably, but you could still do it. You do have a fold down armrest right here with cup holders, and then I believe this is a pass-through. You can unlock that from the other side, and if you need to carry lumber or anything, that should be able to open up right there. And then you have 2 very premium climate vents back here. They didn't skimp on the vents. You also get a 12-volt and heated seats back here for the second row. What a fun feature that, again, you just don't see very often. My XC60 from, 14 years ago, that had rear heated seats too, and it was like the coolest thing in the world. People were like, yeah, I've seen front heated seats, but you have rear heated seats? Oh my word. One other luxury touch, you know it's a luxury vehicle because both pockets, or both seats have pockets in the back. I don't have the nails to open this up, but they do have the little pockets. It's not just relegated to one side. And the premium material continues back here. You still get that carpeted material here. Nice soft armrest right here. This is a little bit cheaper plastic, but it's not terrible. You know, honestly, it feels very premium even for the rear seat passengers. You have a little Easter egg Swedish flag right there on the passenger seat. Let's take this thing for a spin. All right, driving the XC40, getting it out on the road here. This is nice. It's a very comfortable SUV. It picks up pretty quickly, and I like it. I think the interior build quality is one of the highest selling points for me personally. It just feels very premium. Though there is a distinct lack of some features I would have expected here, like, for instance, on the mirror, it is like sill-less, but it doesn't have a camera in it like a lot of other manufacturers are doing. So if you have people in the back, you can flip this and still see out the rear. I don't think it's a huge necessity, but it would be nice to have. What also would be nice to have is maybe a heads-up display, though that's not the end of the world. I would really like ventilated seats though. This doesn't have ventilated seats, and it is very needed. I think the ventilated seats would add a lot to the overall premium feel of this SUV, and they're notably lacking here. Now, other than that, this is really comfortable. This is a very nice SUV that handles well. The steering is tight. You can adjust the steering in the modes screen. There's also an off-road mode as well. I don't know if many people will be using that, but it's there. And so there is a little bit of customization here, but you don't really need to do a ton because it just feels very nice. It handles quite well. The mild hybrid system doesn't do anything crazy. It's very minimal. You get a little bit better gas mileage, and the air conditioning stays on if you're at a stoplight and it turns the engine off. It's like a little assistant battery, basically. It does not run off of the mild hybrid system. You can't drive fully electrically on this car, but it's a nice little added benefit for some smaller features around the cabin. Overall, though, I'd recommend this if you're looking for something like a RAV4, but with a few more bells and whistles. I think the XC40 really does excel in quite a few ways, but it's also being held back in certain ways, especially for the price tag. I think those ventilated seats would really benefit this car. But other than that, I like it. I've really enjoyed my time with it. It smells really good. I don't really talk about that a lot in my videos, but this is one of the nicest smelling cars I've ever been in. It could be because I'm one of the first journalists to get in this press loan and it still smells like new car, or it could have something to do with the air filtration system that's built into this too. It just like really smells nice and feels very premium. So there you go. Those are my thoughts of the overall driving experience, which is simplistic. There's not a lot to write home about. It's comfortable. And then some of the features that I wish that this had. All right, Wilder, you can come out now.
Oh.
So I have a couple of my students in the car because we were going to go do a trip. And I was like, let's just go. Why don't we go now? And we'll just let me film the ending here. And we'll hide them in this video, right? Whoop, there we go. The phone's coming off. Yeah, so there you go. That was maybe one of the greatest magic tricks that we've ever pulled on this channel, is getting Wilder back there.
Just 3 people.
Wilder, how tall are you?
6'3".
Yeah, he's 6'3". So, guys, you want to know about back seat space? Well, that's just about going to wrap up my review of this Volvo XC40. I made it through the entire review without calling it the CX40. I'm personally pretty proud of myself. I don't know about you guys, but what do you think? Is this a cool SUV? Is it not? Is the CX XC thing as confusing as I think it is? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. And before I go, I always like to mention that I'm a Christian. And if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can also leave those in the comment section below. It truly is an honor to be able to pray for you guys. And lastly, I always like to wrap up with a weekly scriptural reading. I have been reading through the Psalms recently, and a lot of them are about seeking God when you're in pain or affliction, or people are coming against you in violence, and just asking for help. And that's where we are today. King David and Goliath, is asking God for help here in Psalm 70, verse 1. He says, "Hasten, O God, to save me. Come quickly, Lord, to help me." And he goes on to talk about the goodness of God and how he hopes that his enemies will be put to shame. And we can always ask God for help. He's always there to listen to us. I can't promise you he's always going to answer your prayer in the way that you're hoping, but he will be there to listen and to answer, just perhaps in an unexpected way. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. See ya.